you suddenly feel a touch on the shoulder following with the words, "Are you sleeping during my class?" You open your eyes and you are at your 7th grade math class. All of the life leading up to this point was just a dream, and you are a 7th grader. What are your thoughts? Story 1. Thank the gods and everything else because that was not my life and now I have a chance. Edit. Wow. Thank you to everyone for the silver, gold, and platinum. I greatly appreciate it as I'm going through a pretty rough time and it's those small things that help keep me going. Story 2. I would run home and hug my mom. I would make better choices in my life during school and just try to appreciate the freedom you have as a teen young adult. I would also do exactly as my mom always told me and stop trying to grow up too fast. I would make more time to laugh and be in the moment, and to remember that hard times don't last too long in most cases, and tell people how much I love and or appreciate them. Story 3. It would be bittersweet. I'd spend more time with my dad for starters. Tell him I love him more than I did when I had the chance and never miss a Father's Day fishing trip. Even if I hated fishing, I'd start going to a doctor to help me with my pain symptoms much earlier and wouldn't accept cop-out answers. I'd have stayed in public school instead of going to online homeschooling, and after graduation immediately enrolled into community college classes, joined more clubs to build more social connections, and worked towards getting a job in human resources at our hospital. Also, I'd make better choices in the romance department. Story 4. First thought is they are all still alive and I can hug them. 3 siblings and both parents. Second thought is I can live it different this time now that I know what matters in life. Edit. Thanks for all the love. I want to respond to everyone but hard to keep up, so hugs to all who sent them or will accept them. Story 5. I'd kill myself. I hated school so much, you couldn't pay me enough money to do that again. I'm so much happier outside of the toxicity of a small town high school. Being an adult is just so much easier than that bullshit. I have a good job, work from home, have my own apartment, lots of free time to play games and chill with friends, a little dog that I love, just looking for a partner now. Of course I have regrets, but those mistakes are what have made me who I am and given me the life I have now. Story 6. Yeah, I get to hug my childhood dog again. Wow. Let's prevent my depression by not getting into a relationship. Or hey, did you know the Amazon has been burning for 20 days in August 2019, or actually Bitcoin investing time. Story 7. I would be thoroughly pissed off. You mean to tell me I had a dream about undergraduate and graduate school? I don't have any accomplishments, and still in this overpopulated school, I'm still struggling. I weighed only 90 pounds, looked hella anorexic with acne. Oh no. Story 8. The realization that my children are dead and will never be coming back deeply haunts me forever. Even if I end up marrying the same woman, the odds of them turning out the exact same are essentially nil. Story 9. To those of you saying thank God, now I get a second chance to actually try. Think of right now as your second chance. Pretend you're 85 years old, tired and worn out. You lived uneventfully and without passion, never pursuing your dreams. You wish you could just go back in time, to when you were younger, to really get the most out of life. You just woke up right now, looking at Reddit, at your current age. Now's your second chance. Do something with it. Story 10. Immediately go home that day to get on Xbox Live with my friends. I miss those days. If I remember right, COD for Modern Warfare came out that year with Xbox Live. That is still to this day the most fun I've had playing video games, besides Halo 2 on the original Xbox of course. Story 11. If this is real, my teeth will be unfucked, my body won't hurt all over for no good reason, and I probably won't be exhausted despite a solid 8 hours of sleep. Yup, it's not real. Story 12. Oh God, please let it be before the day I passed out on front of the whole school in 7th grade. So many things would change: clothes, hair, attitude, hygiene, exercise. Oh man, the energy I would have. I would tell my mom how incredible she is and spend way more time with her. I could stop my parents from getting divorced and maybe she would have good enough insurance to fight the cancer. I would punch a few bullies in the face that I was too afraid of back then. I would stay the away from Hannah. Holy, I could get my parents to not sell the house which has now tripled in value. Damn it, dude. Story 13. At first, devastatingly heartbroken, my wife, my kids, my friends, the home I built, they're all gone. It would feel like my sons died. I would still feel the way the older one climbs into my lap when he's having a bad day. The blissful belly laugh of my infant is imprinted on my heart, and now those don't exist anymore. I would remember my wedding and the Mexico vacation where the oldest was conceived, and not know how to comprehend that as a 12-year-old kid who is barely even discovering, and I'd be 100 isolated in my grief. It would be over 2 decades of reality in my mind, and anyone I talked to about the death of my family would remind me that it's all in my mind. A 12-year-old isn't equipped to handle that. I'd probably get placed into psychiatric therapy, placed on mind-numbing medications. Adult me loves beer and scotch. I bet preteen me would drown himself in adolescent alcoholism to try to forget. I would certainly try to find my wife, but her nomadic childhood and 1995 technology would make that virtually impossible. It would be years before social media or even an email address would exist. By then, I'd probably come to the realization that I don't exist to her anyway, and any attempt to bombard her with my crazy would be abusive. Eventually, I'd come to accept that it's all fake. I hope I wouldn't struggle with wondering if anything else is real. How do you know what to believe when 23 of your life was a fabrication of your own mind? The emotions would never go away, but am resilient enough to let the dream become a precautionary tale. I'd know what could go wrong with certain decisions, and the consequences would be much more real than any warning from someone else. I'd absolutely take a more determined career pathway, meet and fall in love with someone else, and know the tendencies in myself that can erode a relationship, I'd start a new family, and struggle with not comparing my real kids to the ones I remember from a dream 15 years ago. Story 14. Honestly, I'd probably deal pretty well with that. I just need to make sure I take the necessary actions to meet my girlfriend at the right time. I'd get laid a lot, that's for sure. Knowing the future for 17 years certainly would help the family business, and I'd have the time to become a really spectacular engineer before I started working there. I mean, I can develop the skills I have now in relative peace and quiet for at least 8 years before I need to use them live again. I'm already good, but with that kind of time I would get my career started being a very well-rounded engineer. Story 15. My biggest conflict would be if to avoid the horrible woman I would end up having a child with who has made my life a living, or go through it all over again just to have my daughter back. Story 16. Dope. I get to use all of my current knowledge to change my life going forward. Then, I'm going to have to hang out with teenagers for the next 5 years. Story 17. I'm an economist. I spent the last 10 years either in college getting degrees or working in the field, with the knowledge I'd be Warren Buffett before bitcoins is even a thing. Story 18. This actually happened to some people if I'm not mistaken, albeit in a coma or a dream of some sorts. They became horribly depressed because they started a family, had a wife, husband and kids, and they lost everything when they awoke. Found it, real or not, it's a very haunting read. Story 19. Most people are responding assuming they remember what happened. What if this ends up like most dreams and you only retain fragments? If anything, what if we've already been through this process and that's what the deja vu moment we already have are? Story 20. Oh fwack, might have just dodged a bullet there. Am I clairvoyant? What do I do with this? Who to tell? I should probably study in class more. Story 21. First I would fix my hair, so either get a haircut or at least style it nicely. I would sit somewhere else in English class and take German so that I could make the friends I wanted to be friends with, and German so I could have a class with my best friend. I would wear makeup occasionally, tie up my hair, or do it different ways so I don't look the same every day. I wouldn't stop reading. Story 22. I'd be happy. It's actually a wish to just wake up and see that nothing ever happened. I think about it daily. Right at the end of grade 7, beginning of grade 8, my life went completely upside down. Parents divorced, social workers and child services got involved, police got involved, years of therapy and counseling and psychologists. Moved around a lot. Mom took us to live in women's shelters for a while. Problem is they didn't like me in the shelters cause I'm male, and I would hear comments about how terrible I would grow up to be. Later on we had to use food banks. Lived in a cockroach-infested rundown townhouse. Had the power shut off several times. Mom, almost immediately, got remarried to a guy who was just as bad if not worse than my dad. Got beaten regularly by him. Nobody believed me and my siblings shunned me for it. Family moved across the country. Lost friends and family. Lost my chance at the education I wanted at a specific school. Years of stress and anxiety and abuse caused me to not be able to socialize properly, as well as made me have a difficult time learning, making me fall behind. Tried to self-teach for years but it only made things worse. Suffered from panic attacks for years where I would throw up daily for months on end. Any friends that I made just disappeared eventually, usually telling me to stop feeling sorry for myself, or get over it. People have it worse, ECT. Just overall so much stuff to deal with over the last decade or two. I do not feel good about living, do not feel good about anything that I do. Always feel tense, anxious, and scared. I would love, just absolutely love, to just wake up in grade 7 and find out it was a dream. This nightmare can be over. Story 23. Yeah, I was sleeping now. Shut the up, boomer. Least now I can coast through school. Edit. I get it. It's coast not coat. Thank you for informing me. I'm a moron. Reddit. I most certainly didn't already know that. Story 24. Well, considering I now have the knowledge of a 24-year-old dude with a degree in pure math, I'm going to school the out of my teacher. At least that's the first thing I'm going to do in a 7th grade math class. Story 25. Pause. OMG guys, I had a dream Trump was president, and some of you voted for it in 7th grade. Was so traumatic I've literally blocked it out of my mind, so that's good. I guess I'll just sucker punch the class bully and slap the jock boy who humiliated me in front of our entire grade. He found out through a friend that I had a huge crush on him with a textbook from accidental experience that hurts, deal with the fallout, get diagnosed with ADHD. 8th grade. I'm reporting my boyfriend to the police myself the minute we meet. He was grooming me and he will pay. If police are moving too slow, tell my daddy his address and that I know when his parents aren't home. Give him a chance to heal a familial relationship that's still strained. 9th grade. Pursue writing career immediately. Also, get math tutoring. Nothing more humiliating than being in the same 10th grade math class as the rejects who all work at the boat docks with 2 kids now. For reference, we're not yet 25. Kiss sometime in between these 2 grades, by fellow female friend. Having pre-knowledge of this, he'll just go ahead and come out as gay to start high school with a bang. He'll let Jay come out as our school's first trans guy, and he'll fist fight anyone who so much as frowns in his general direction. He will live this time around, even if it means I get kicked out of Taekwondo for kicking Ethan shit for brains down the bleacher stairs like I should have done. 10th grade. Report shitty abusive English teacher to everyone and anyone who will listen to me. Having fixed grades and procrastination with controversial medication. Start applying to NC State and UNCW. I can do it. avoid first car wreck. 11th grade, do everything I can to convince my friend that it's worth finishing high school, help her report teachers that are trying to get her to drop out. In this dystopia, I cost MS. T her college professor career. So let's scare the cooking parenting home EC teacher. Do not take photography class. Not worth it. Avoid first ticket. Come out as trans right around here. Fight for right to be who I am. I am short and I am very angry. At this point my third cup of coffee kicked in and I was useless. 12th grade, get into good school. Graduate with friend. Don't lose graduating cap in front of entire graduating class. Their family, my family, school board, and the mayor. I know someone still has that picture and is just waiting to blackmail me with it. College, explore venues for writing, theater, TV. Skip the PA camp by any and all means possibility. Story 26. I actually had this exact scenario in my 7th grade math class. I had started developing allergies and needed to be put on medication for them. The first choice was I think Zyrtec, and that conked me the out. Whenever I fell asleep in class I had the craziest dreams, and in one of them I lived a full life. When it started I had the whole wake up in the bed mindfuck. And then with autopilot I went through my day as an architect working in New York, went through my commute and even got breakfast with a coworker, and throughout the dream I kept saying about how my kid's elf would be so proud of where we are. Then when I got home and fed my huge collection of fish and watered some plants I went to bed in the dream, and then woke up in math class wondering how that happened. In retrospect I think that was the thing that pushed me to study architecture when I go to college. Story 27. I'm gonna find the kid who bullied me and punch him in the face and never be afraid of a fight again. And middle school will be completely different. Story 28. I'd freak out for a bit, and then I'd tell my parents all about the future with Donald Trump as US president, and then they'd have me committed to an insane asylum. Story 29. Yes, I get to do things correctly this time around. I would become pop star stealing all of the songs I know to be catchy. Even if my dream wasn't a true outcome, those songs are still good. Story 30. I would be heartbroken. I would spend the rest of my life searching for my husband and trying to get pregnant on the exact same days I got pregnant with my children in hopes of hitting the same genetic lottery. I would even suffer through all the bad if it meant I could have the life I have now. My life isn't perfect, but it's mine. My husband and I are about to celebrate 21 years, and he is my best friend. We have 3 amazing children. We are in the process of buying a home. I teach kindergarten. The only thing I would want to change is that I wouldn't let my husband have the surgery that left him permanently disabled and in a lot of pain. Story 31. First of all, how did I fall asleep in her class? She was pretty strict. Second of all, man, I made a good friend and met the best teacher ever. Better hope it's still like that. And also, in going back to sleep, I don't want to go to social studies. Not with that teacher. Story 32. Thank God. I was just kidding when I said I wanted to grow up. Adulting sucks. Edit. I did really well until after HS graduation. I don't regret my decisions, but I had my first child at 19 and that kept me from pursuing my dreams. I've thankfully done very well, but I still haven't finished and my goal is to go to nursing school. Story 33. That would be great. I mean, I would know what to do when things come, and what to avoid. I would avoid my mistakes and live better life. It's not that far away, so in like 4 years I would be where I am now, but better. Story 34. My first thought would be, this is most definitely not my 7th grade math class. My math teacher that year was checked out from day one. She wrote an assignment on the board, handed us our books, and that was about it. She instructed us to follow what was in the book. If we didn't understand what was in the book, we were to ask another student. I vaguely remember occasional tests, but we took them, and then would hand our completed to another student to grade while she read out the answers. That teacher wasn't really into teaching. Story 35. I honestly don't know. I mean, I guess one side of my brain would be like, fuck damn it, but like on the other side I would be thinking, yes, I can undo everything, I can study harder than I did before. So yeah, buy Bitcoin and sell on December 17, 2017. Story 36. My karma. There was this post here on Reddit that I stumbled upon years ago, very similar to this, and I think about it often. It was about a dude who got sucker punched and fainted. I think he mentioned it only lasted a minute. Anyway, he told us a story of what happened when he blacked out. How his life was completely different. How he met this girl, had an entire relationship with her, they fell in love, got married, had kids, the works. Right before he woke up, he started to notice that his fantasy world wasn't as it seemed, and snapped back to reality. He says it with him for a while because of how real it felt, and how he mourns the loss of a family he never had. I think I feel the same. I've created such strong bonds in this life with some people I know. I've had ups and downs, but funnily enough, I don't regret anything. I think if this does happen to me, I'd try to recreate my life as close as possible, because I've done some pretty extraordinary things in this current life that I wouldn't trade for the world. Story 37. I'd transfer to a school that would have more opportunities, study and apply myself and get accepted to nursing school out of high school. Also maybe meet my so a few years sooner, though I would be sad to lose my baby. He's the sweetest boy. Story 38. If I can still remember everything from my dream, I'm basically a 20 years old in a 12 years old body. My first thought is I've been given an 8-year head start. Story 39. I would probably break down sobbing. I appreciate what I learned through my childhood, but no, it was a blessed day when I finally moved away from my parents. The thought of going back and having to tolerate and experience their way of raising children a second time makes me so sad. I appreciate my parents and know they did what they thought was right, But no, I'd be miserable. I'm finally getting on my feet and figuring out how to healthily function in this messed up world. I don't want to backtrack years of progress. Edit. After reading a few responses, I felt the need to add a bit more about my mom. She died 3 years ago right after I turned 21. We had our fair share of problems. We fought more than not. My father is the one who fueled most of the conflict of my childhood, but that ultimately made it difficult to have a healthy relationship with my mom as well. Going back to 7th grade, I'd use what I learned over the years in therapy to improve my relationship with my mom, make her feel loved and appreciated. We didn't grow up taught how to properly show love and affection, so I feel like my 2 younger sisters as well never got to give that to our mom. I'd just really enjoy getting to be around her again, even if being back in that environment would be high stress for me. Story 40. I'd get a serious breakdown, crying, shrieking, flailing, absolute freakout. I did so much since then, accomplished tons, all not real. 28 years of growth of the devil. No, after I confirm it's real might take a week or 2. I make a plan on how to shortcut things. First of all is a video diary about everything I remember. Wow, what a chance, here I come. No lottery numbers though, sadly, but I know what to do with my money as soon as I can, and I will not lose that tooth again. Wow, I dreamed up an entire life with a girl 2 rows behind me. Story 41. No Google in my pocket, mother. None of the recent music I like has happened yet. I don't have my husband yet, and more shitty, I have to go through the baby years of child reading again. On the positive side, maybe I can avoid some of the crappier stuff. Wait, this is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful wife. Story 42. I'd probably cry and be depressed for a really long time. My wife gone, my 3 kids gone, all my achievements in life completely gone. Now that I think about it, I've come a long way in life and am essentially living my dreams. Additionally, I'd have to relive being bullied and waiting 11 years till I go deep in a female for the first time. Bullies, abstinence too. Yeah, I can finally fix my life, yay. Less stress being a kid. Story 43. I try to remember my biggest mistakes, but they all fade away too quickly and I can't remember anything clearly. Then years later I repeat them, and all that has changed is the feelings of déjà vu while experiencing them again. Story 44. I'd sincerely be overly depressed. Got my dream girl, got my dream career, and the most amazing kid ever would, well I have to experience 911 again in a few weeks. Wait, will that even happen? Was my mind just winging it the whole time, or did I see the future? It could honestly lead to a mental breakdown due to paranoia at every single decision. Story 45. Well, my wife probably doesn't exist. That's bad, but I know a lot of advanced math that'll set me up for quite a career. That's good. The math is also cursed. Story 46. I'd have a full-blown panic attack and write down as much of it as I could remember. My mother's family was known for being charismatics, so I would likely go crazy trying to figure out if it was truly just a dream or if there were things I could change, and what would be possible to try to change, and what would be things that were beyond changing. How much of my past am I willing to sacrifice for who and what I am? How much of me would I throw away in an instant for a second chance? Story 47. I would immediately run home and go see my dad. I'd describe to him in vivid detail what happened, how he died, how I knew my mother was hitting him, everything. I'd talk to him about all the medical problems I was going to have. I'd find the one person I know who would believe everything I experienced and what happened in the future. I'd tell them both everything. When the anniversary of my dad's death came up, I'd check him into hospital ASAP. I'd act like the man I needed to become and be the kid I never got to be. I'd cherish the family that I had, and if I had to again, I'd say my goodbyes in the exact same way as before, and I wouldn't wait anymore. I sat still for too long, and if I knew how much it was going to cost me, I never would have considered it in the first place. Story 48. Well, funny thing, my 11th grade trigonometry teacher woke up a 9th grader, who had a class before his, and the teacher let him sleep while the 9th grade class left. He tapped on the desk, no response. He tapped him on the arm, just a shrug and a grunt. He finally said, in his Marine veteran voice, "Son, wake up, do you know where you are?" The kid woke up, looked around at a bunch of strangers. I always wondered what his thoughts were. Oh, our trig teacher was so cool. Story 49. Knowing my 7th grade math teacher, he'd probably throw the metal trash can across the class to wake me up, so I'd probably be terrified for a minute. And yes, he did do this multiple times. Story 50. Your boy is gonna be stupid rich. He'll invest in Bitcoin, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, etc. Yo, Imma be acting a fool. Please let this happen. On top of that, Imma know who my friends are and I won't give any time to my now ex-GF FDH. Story 51. Yes, I'm sorry sir, I must not have slept well last night. You'll try harder to stay awake. Step 2. Immediately begin writing down everything I can remember from the dream. Everything. I can use that information, even if things like historical events aren't entirely accurate, even if technology doesn't progress the way it did in my dream. There has been a lot I've learned about myself, about others, about life since I was in the 7th grade. I need that information. Step 3. Figure out how to best implement the information I have acquired, and when to do so. Step 4. Do better than I did in the dream. Story 52. I'd run to call my dad and tell him how much I love him and have missed him, and to not go and play tennis on 1312008. It's been 11 years since I've hugged him. Story 53. Probably go to the office and call my mom to come pick me up because I feel really sick and then spend the day hugging her and crying because she died when I was 14 and it's been that many years since I last saw her alive, and I miss her. Also probably live my new life being openly queer because a decade spent in the closet is real shitty and am not dealing with that again. ID try to find my best friend that I met in high school sooner, make sure someone double checks all the wiring so my childhood home doesn't burn down again, Bitcoin and tech company investments, obviously. Write a book of prophecies, get it notarized that I wrote it on XYZ year, and then keep it hidden until events have already come to pass, and release it after the fact. God, I still keep looping back to mom, what I wouldn't give to get a big bear hug from her again. I can remember her smell, and her smile, but I can't remember her voice. She was always the one taking pictures and videos of others so we don't have much with her in it. A few glimpses as she adjusts the camera, or her in the background. People get some recordings of your family and loved ones speaking, smiling, having a good time with you. It's heartbreaking to feel your memories of important people slip away. Story 54. This actually happened to me. I fell asleep in my 9th grade science class, and had a dream that I grew up to somewhere in my 30s, I was married and had kids. Don't remember any details though. I woke up in my class, and it took me a little while to figure out where I was. When I did, I was like, oh no, I have to do all of this over again. I have now outgrown the age that I dreamed. Story 55. I'd have such a dilemma. Do I fix all my mistakes and fix years of misery, but risk never having met my husband? We met through a huge series of unlikely events, that the smallest things can change the outcome. Story 56. If I had asked her one more time she would have said yes. She told me this on her wedding day. She told me how she will always love me. This second time I would ask her again and again and again. I would not lose her this time. Story 57. I would probably start crying out of joy. That night I would go to my mom and tell her I am trans and that I wanted to start hormones. Starting at that point in my life would have let me not have broad shoulders. I wouldn't grow a beard, not grow as tall as I did, and so many other reasons that would have just improved my quality of life. Story 58. I got a lot of to avoid. I had this dream not in grade 7. But a few years earlier, my first thought was, oh, maybe I can use a lifetime's worth of experience, like I know math and now no I didn't, I just thought I did cause that was part of the dream. It was very disappointing. Story 59. I would probably stick out like a sore thumb now that I am no longer interested in the gossip and drama of middle schoolers, be ostracized because I now wear what's comfy and presentable instead of what's cool, and lose all my friends as I no longer take any of their problems seriously since I know they will turn out just fine.